It's an exciting time. We want you to know about Education Sunday. We want to invite your church to be a part of it. And we want to turn to talk to Reverend Jesse RINCONES, who serves as the Executive Director for the Hispanic Baptist Convention of Texas, representing 1,300 churches. So welcome. We're so glad that you're here.
Thank you, Andrea. It's great to be with you.
Yeah. We want to talk about church culture, like Danny mentioned, and what you're seeing across Texas that's really a best practices. But first, we wanted to know, what does loving the Lord with all of your mind mean to you?
Well, you know, at the most basic level, it is fulfilling the greatest commandment that we could receive, is love the Lord our God with all of our heart, all of our mind, all of our soul, all of our strength. And, you know, as Hispanics, we are passionate about our loving God with our heart and our soul. You know, we love vibrant worship, dynamic preaching. But I think out of all of the great commandment teachings, loving the Lord your God with all your mind is probably one of the least voiced teachings in our Hispanic faith community. And then at a deeper level, it also means incorporating your mind into worship and service. You know, we think about worshiping with our hands, with our heart, with our song. But as we learn to love the Lord our God with all of our mind, we incorporate our mind into that. And Jesus said, you know, whatever you do, do it as unto the Lord. And so we use our minds to glorify God. So loving God with all your mind means wrestling with difficult things to understand, wrestling with God's truth and grasping it and understanding it. It means solving problems, helping others, and for some of our students out there, it also means doing your algebra homework as unto the Lord.
Right. Yeah, because it goes across the full gamut. So whether it's your studies or it's exegetical work that you're trying to figure out what the Lord means by certain scripture. I know that you get to see a lot of churches, and you get to speak with the pastors and the leaders. What do you see that's working across churches to say, these churches have a best practice of supporting their students? What are they doing? What are you seeing?
Andrea, I think it falls into three different levels. The first one is just connecting. Churches beginning to connect with their students, connecting with their community schools. I heard a testimony of a principal who said she sent out letters to the entire community, all these churches, asking for help, and only one church responded. And it begins with connecting with the teachers, with the students, and with the schools, and then beginning to serve them. And that's the next level. And I know that there are churches that have adopted their schools, they're painting, they're collecting resources for the students, and they're providing drinks for the teachers or snack packs for the kids to take home on the weekend. So it goes from connecting to serving, and then actually ministering. You know, there's a church in San Antonio, Life Church, and they have these scholarship students who are in a local university, and then those students come back and do intern work in the church, and that's a double help. It's for the students, but then all of a sudden you have junior high and high school kids that each week are connecting with students that are in college, with students that know their culture and that look like them, have similar experiences, and it gives them hope to be able to participate in that. And I think there's a lot of churches that will do recognize the Graduate Sunday, right. And then there's others where you can push even deeper and go farther with that. And I think some churches have developed an entire education initiative where you take May, and it's not just recognizing the students. Graduates on Sunday, but you recognize all the students on another Sunday, you recognize all the teachers on a different Sunday, and you just continue to keep it at the forefront of the church.
That's incredible. So it's not a one-time stop or just in September, just in May. You're seeing churches who are doing it really well are doing it throughout the year.
Exactly. Like. And you can take some of the things you're already doing and incorporate that education aspect to it. There's churches that do backpack giveaways for before school starts. So they have some kind of fair where they provide haircuts and notebook paper and things like that. You can incorporate a time there where you challenge the parents, some of the things that they can do for their students, challenge the students. And one of the most powerful things is when you can invite a parent to pray for their student for that coming year, to pray for that student's teacher. And some of those parents, it may be the very first time they ever pray for their kids and pray for their teachers and pray for their education. So there may be things that they're already doing that they can incorporate the education aspect into it.
That's fantastic. Well, I know that the college world can seem scary for those that are first-time college students, and maybe mom and dad may have not gone, but the church can still rally among them. For pastors who may not know the college world, so to speak, what advice would you give them?
I would tell them what I used to tell my church, that college isn't for everybody, but education is. And if a pastor can grasp that and recognize that their church has a role in that, it begins there. And then the second thing I would tell them is connect with your students and connect with the teachers, the ones that are in your congregation and the ones in your neighborhoods. And when you connect with them, you're going to discover some of the needs that they have. And there are needs there that the church can come alongside that family, alongside that student and teacher, and help them. And when you connect with a college student, that college student is the one that can, build a website for your church, or get your church on Facebook, or fix the squealing sound on your sound system, and develop those relationships with those students. So it's a relationship that'll bless the students, but also bless the church. And I think finally, pastors need to do what pastors do, is preach on it, preach on education, and teach the congregation that just like Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego could come in and study in a place that was really foreign to them, learn things that were sometimes the antithesis to what they had been taught, but they were able to do it with courage, with excellence, and not lose their faith.
Yeah.
That's a great word.
I know you've mentioned connecting. What ways do you feel are best for pastors to connect with college students? What does that look like from kind of a practical standpoint?
Feeding students on campus.
That's always a good one.
The college students are always hungry.
Yeah.
I know the students, like the organizations like Baptist Student Ministries and other things, are always looking for churches and pastors to connect, feed the students, speak to the students. Adopting a college student, having maybe a student dinner every month and inviting those students into your home. There's a lot of ways, creative ways. Get on campus. Many pastors have never visited their closest campus that's there. Many of our Hispanic families can't name more than a few colleges, and so begin to involve yourself on the college campus and make yourself aware of what are some of the resources that are there, so that when the students in your church are asking questions, if you don't have to know all the answers, you just have to know where to find them.
Yeah.
That's a great word.
Have you seen pastors take students to the college campus? Does that seem to be something that's happening more?
One of the exciting things that we saw one summer was we had an education summer missionary come in, and one of the things that he planned was an entire day outing, taking students from junior high, high school, out to the college campus. And for many of those students, it was the first time they'd ever set foot on a campus. And when they take that first step and they can walk around and the place becomes familiar to them, and they see other students walking around there that look like them, and it's the first step to making that connection.
Yeah. Well, I know you mentioned, that's really powerful. I'm just kind of digesting what you shared. That's just to see the pastor take on the spiritual role to say, we're going to help you, I'm going to help lead you to this and make this place that may seem intimidating not as intimidating, because we're going to go together and we're going to look and ask questions together. So I know that you have done something really special with a preschool program, and I wanted to see if you could share about what you did for preschoolers related to helping them get a really strong start at the beginning to understand that education is connected to loving the Lord with all of your mind. Can you share a little bit about that?
Sure, and I wish it was my idea. It was actually our nursery director who said, Pastor, can we calendar one of the Sundays to have our children graduate from nursery into the elementary Sunday school classes? And I thought, sure, no problem. And what I didn't realize was that she had gone out and contacted somebody from a school who used to graduate their first graders and didn't use their cap and gown anymore. So the Sunday came around, and they have the stage set up like a graduation scene. And we had more parents and grandparents, more people turn out on that Sunday than even on Easter.
Wow.
You know, and so the little kids are coming in with their cap and gown. We give them their diplomas. We recognize them. We clap for them, and they take the pictures. And we want them to be that to be a seed of in their lives of what it's going to be like. Hopefully, 12 years later when they graduate from high school, and 4 years later from college, and many of them go on to do post-grad work. And it was really exciting to see the parents come together with the children and the church together in that where the family of faith worships, and recognizing that the church was helping them understand that their mind is something valuable they can use to worship God with.
Wow. That's exciting. I mean, I have a preschooler. We don't miss any preschool event. And so I think that it is interesting that grandparents or folks that, cousins and tios and tias who may not feel comfortable going to church, maybe are estranged from the Lord, would come to something like this because it's for, you know, mijo and mija. So you can make that connection.
Right. And it's a celebration. It's a celebration of, much like quinceañeras, from one season to another season. And the church can come alongside and celebrate those seasons, whether it's kids beginning their first year of school. We celebrate, on the Sunday that we celebrated all the students, we recognize every single student for anything. You know, what was your favorite time of what was your favorite class? You know, some of them said recess, and even if they said recess, we passed them up to the front. We recognized who their teachers were, what their accomplishments were, and they, you know, the entire congregation clapped for them. And that would take up a lot of time on a Sunday morning. And I know there's some pastors who would say, you know, Sunday morning time is special, we've got to use it for preaching. But you know, we're speaking into the lives of those students and into the community and telling them it's important for you to worship with your strength and to worship with your heart, but we also value your mind and use it in a way to glorify God.
Yeah. Man,
That's a beautiful
powerful.
example. If I could just, you mentioned students, you mentioned parents, and you also mentioned grandparents that could be involved in this education. And I think that's a great example of how the entire culture can embrace education, and how the education platform just kind of equalizes or neutralizes some of the stigma that might be associated with different things within a church culture.
Absolutely.
So I really appreciate that.
And the familia is a very important part of that. You know, I was talking to a college president who said they had to move their graduation to a larger place because they had more Hispanics graduating.
Yeah,
and they bring all of their familia with them, you know. And we have a familia of faith. You know, what an amazing intersection. Your family of faith, and education coming together. And they're not antagonistic against each other. They're complementary. God created it in a way that it would bless the family, bless the church, and bless the mind.
Man, that's powerful. I know something that I saw once was the pastor inviting children to bring their report cards to church, and then to put them in the offering plate, because he explained this was really the time that you spent this week was time in worship, and how you're using your mind. And so we want to present that unto the Lord, like you were talking about. And it was just a really powerful visual for students to be able to see that their time really needs to be focused on eternity based, and loving the Lord with their mind, and just really, really powerful. So we just so appreciate you sharing about the college students and the preschool program, and the best practices that we're seeing across the state of Texas. And we want to encourage the body to take some of these ideas and encourage pastors who may be watching, or pastors' wives, leaders, to take that information and to select one or two and do that at their own church. So thank you for being here with us. We're
Great
so
to be
glad.
here.
Absolutely.
I'm excited to hear of the amazing new things that people are going to think of to do to help people love the Lord their God with all their mind.
Thank you so much.